Welcome everybody to the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Sunday Night Live. It is almost 8:30. We are going to get started here in just a couple of moments. If you've got any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat and be one of the first ones to get in the comment section. Looks like we got a few folks joining now, but we'll get started here in another minute. Oh. There we go. Now we're having some fun. All right. Captain Matt, Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon, thank you for joining us here on this Sunday evening live. And I want to thank, I don't know if he is on, but I want to thank Brian Blank. He became a supporting member of the YouTube channel. This is new functionality that because we are almost to 25,000 subscribers, they allowed me to have a membership where you can actually join the community and you'll get some extra things. What I'll probably do is it's going to notify me like this one. It turns up, this comment turns up green when you're a member, and it will allow me to move people that are financial contributors to the program to move up. Now, there's still, I'm going to try to stay on. I'll do an hour every week, is my commitment. So I may, as we get into different times in the season, I may have to switch my day from Sunday to other days and be a little bit flexible on that. As boating season rolls around, I'm going to be on the water and may not be able to do it every Sunday, but I will do a live once a week. And any of the supporting members are going to get priority in getting their questions answered. And so far, the way it's been going is I've been able to get to everybody, and I don't think I've ever ended a live without answering every question that's popped up. And I will continue to do that, but it will give them priority as just a thanks for their financial contribution. And I think the programs are set up. I think it's like $2.99 a month, $4.99 a month, and $9.99 a month. And it's very much appreciated, Brian. So thanks for joining. And if you have a question, just drop it in the comments, and I will get to you. So, all right. Well, this week we are today today was my daughter's birthday, so we had a bunch of girls over here doing some fun birthday games, shaking ping pong balls and gunny sack races, going old school, and doing some weird games that my wife came up with. So we've had a pretty fun weekend. The birthday was on Friday, and the party was today. So that was a pretty great way. But I was able to get them. They were all worn out, so they got to bed a little early, was able to jump on a little early. So if anybody's got questions, go ahead and jump right in. As always, We've got we've got the First Time Boat Buyer Academy. If you're interested in getting a little bit more support with with your boat research and buying and ensuring that you get the best possible price. This is a fantastic program. It comes with the um, Captain Matt's personal Happy Boater 100% money back guarantee, as do all of my programs. And also, if you're new to boat ownership and you want to make sure that you've got complete control, the best pontoon captain on the water, the best boat captain on the water programs have been very popular. And you'll notice in the community tab, if you're just scrolling through YouTube on your phone, you'll see a poll. I ask you, let's see if I can pull this up here. Community. How did you learn to drive your boat? So 43% said my dad, my mom, my grandpa, my uncle, etc. taught me. 44% said I learned it all on my own, trial and error, took a few dings and dents. 3% hired a local captain or were taught by their dealer. 3% invested in the best boat captain on the water training. And 6% say, honestly, I could use a little help. So you 6% go check out that best boat captain training. And I'm that will definitely be the help. And as I said, there is, if for whatever reason you're not 100% satisfied, 30-day full 100% refund, no hassle, no runaround, no rigmarole, none of that. So we've got Brock coming in here. Brock is a frequent contributor participant. You hopefully listen to his podcast. Interval, you're supposed to change the fluid on a C Star system. I do not. It should be a closed system, and I'm going to venture to say it is a long interval. Would be my gut reaction. But let's see here. C Star interval. Let's see if there's um don't list anything other than to top it off if it's low. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that's it. Um Converge, preventive maintenance at least once a year. Take the time to give the steering system. Brock, this may be what you saw. I know that you are very good at digging into things and like to do your research. So yeah, I wouldn't with that system. I mean, it's a power steering system, hose check, ram inspection. Yeah, I don't see anything that that jumps out about changing the fluid. I'm gonna guess because it's a closed system, is it's just topping off, and there very well may not be a change required at any level. I mean, think about the power steering on your vehicle. It's what, 75,000 miles, 50, 75,000 miles, something like that. You know, we don't even put close to that type of work on a steering system on a boat. So, I don't know. Let me go through and see. Um, Let me go through and see if I have any contacts that might have access to an inside contact at C-Star, and see if I can come up with anything there for you, Brock. And I'll just shoot you an email. I've got your email, so I will do that for sure. Let's go back. There we go. Put me on the screen. So this week, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, of course, Brock. And Brock, Jim Bryan who's down in Georgia, was on when we were talking about the VHF radios. He has sent me 3 or 4 detailed um, emails with some insights on the VHF situation, the antenna situation. So I'm working at pulling all that together and kind of getting my thoughts right on it, and pulling research from various different sources. Um, Jim is a ham radio operator, certified or licensed or whatever. License is probably the right word for them. And with his insight, I'm going to create the video. I'm going to send it to him and say, hey, do I say anything that's just blatantly wrong here? You may disagree with some of my opinions, but let me know that as well, and that way I can put together a great resource for anybody that is looking at VHF. And one of the things, Brock, and I think this is what you did, is he recommended going with the 8-foot antenna, and I think that's exactly what you did. And if I remember right, you had to run some new coax through the T top to get that all installed. And so it sounds like you're on the right track with that, and putting the antenna that you chose from everything that he said in his emails. The email you sent me was right on track as well. So all right, we got some folks joining in here. If you have any questions, if you want a conversation you would like me just to kind of talk about, go ahead and drop it in the comments. And if you've not attended, awesome, Brock, that yours is going to get there and get that in. If you've got any comments, if you got any topics that you want me to talk about a little bit, if you have a very specific question, go ahead and drop it in the comments, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and I'd be glad to jump on that and give you my thoughts. Let's see, what am I trying to do here? There we go. Trying to make myself big. So, what's going on in this time right now? Boat shows are kicking off. I have got a couple on my calendar to get to. I'm coaching my daughter's basketball team, so that takes priority. Family for me, for family always comes first, and so I won't be missing any of her games. But I've got a weekend I haven't put my new 2022 calendar up yet, but on the 18th, I think, January 18th, there's a show I'm going to. And so what I'm going to do, and I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I've been doing the best and the worst, where I kind of rank brands. And then I've got my top five and my bottom five. But then I also, when I go to the boat show, I've been taking pictures of everything and then kind of given a whole rundown of how I rank things: premium, mid tier, and value. Let me know if that works for you. If they seem to be popular videos, I get good comments on them that this is exactly what I was looking for. This is really valuable. But as long as I'm going to be at the show and kind of acting as a truly unbiased boat test, where I'm not taking advertising dollars from any manufacturers, any engine manufacturers. This is all just me saying, hey, I'm supporting my community. If they want to support me buying my programs, if they want to support me donating, if they want to now join the membership, like Brian Blank did, and join and support what we're doing here that way. I want to develop the every year. My plan is to every year do this. I want to develop kind of the best resource for anybody that's looking to buy that category of boat. So bow rider, deck boat, pontoon, aluminum fishing boat. I don't know if I'm the right person to get into wake boats specifically, because I have surfed before, but I am not a surfer. Yes, Brock, I'm hoping to get to Charleston. I may have to come on Sunday. We've got a basketball game Saturday afternoon. And so I talked to my wife about ducking out after the basketball game and getting down there and at least doing some research on Sunday. So if I get that scheduled, I'll drop you a note, and would love to meet you down there and say hi in person, maybe even grab a beer or something. I may or may not stay overnight, depending on what other meetings I set up down there because I've got a few other things that I want to do while I'm in Charleston. Specifically, what we had talked about, Brock, about trying to find the right captain to do the coastal version of the best boat captain on the water. And I've got a few people identified, and the one you gave me, um, Fred von Klewitz, something like that. That you gave me on our conversation. I've got that sticky note sitting right there still. But so that will hopefully be attending that, and hopefully we can catch up. So Travis, any question at all? Now, if you ask a very broad question like, should I buy a Stingray? I'm going to have or should I buy an 18 footer, or should I buy this? I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and there's a little bit of a delay, but you just drop in with your response. And if you've got a very specific question, I will answer it to the best of my ability. If you ask a question that's outside of my area of expertise, or something that, I've got an opinion or I've got a little bit of insight, but like Brock, who's been very active in the community. He's been on the podcast. He asked me a very specific question about VHF radio antennas. And I had to say, I don't know. Here's what I do know, which was minor, minor, minor. And then we had other people in the group who chimed in and said, "Hey, I'm very into radios," and gave some more insight. That's why I really like the community that we're developing, and I like to have people that are coming back over and over who have been through some of the learning, and that can give a local flavor. So really, there's no question if it's boating related that is out of bounds. And I will do my best to stay in my lane, answer questions where I have very um, detailed experience. I've got a reason for my answer, and give that, or give my opinion and let you know it's my opinion, and say, "Hey, this is just what I feel. This is what I think about the situation. There's others that think differently than me." And then the times where I'm like, "I don't know," and and I am not too proud to just make up an answer. I will say, "I don't know." So just drop in whatever you want, any question at all, and I will do my best to answer. But Travis, thanks for being with us for the first time, and thanks for watching the videos. There's a lot of information out there. I don't know what we're at right now on the videos, but we're almost to 25,000 subscribers, and we are at uh, over 3 million video views. I thought it used to tell me how many videos I actually had. Maybe that's just on my back end. But we're well over 200 videos. I'm almost certain of that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's not going to show me, but we're 860,000 on this one, which is an awful video. It's got a little blur in it. It's got the audio's terrible, but people tend to enjoy that. And then these best and worst videos seem to be very popular as well. And I want to make those even better for the coming season. 277. I'm not sure what that is, Brock. Oh, 277 videos. Okay, that's what it is. Like, what was I just talking about? Duh. So 277 videos on the channel with, I want to get more into aluminum boats. I haven't done a whole lot on that because I haven't dove into the research on aluminum. I sold Crestliner for a short period of time. I've run a Lund. I've done a little bit with Polarcraft, but I don't have, it's not something that I've got a ton of knowledge on yet, but I know enough to do the research and then report back what I find. So I want to add that to the mix as well. I've got a deck boat one that I'm going to wait to put together until after I get to a couple boat shows and see the 2022 models. but I think that's an area where I haven't I've got the knowledge, but I haven't, put anything out there, and, so that will be coming, but I'm getting to the point in the channel where I've done, talking about stern drives, talking about pontoons, giving the tips and everything, and, I'm trying to come up with more to, interesting and creative ways to put it out there so people can, how do I want to say this? So it's consumable. So some of the videos, this is what I've been doing lately, is some of my videos that I think are excellent, like this one, overlook these costly headaches. This only has 10,000 views on it, but that's a powerful, valuable video for newer boat owners. Why most boaters experience expensive repairs. It's the things that from technicians that I see, um, that this is the stuff that you forget to do if you're not a experienced boater that then costs you expensive repairs. So, I'm trying to, how can I recreate that in a way that people want to watch it, that people will dig into that. Um, these common boating mistakes, that's another one that I think is good, and I need to figure out a good way to put it out there. People are saying hold off on buying. Boat prices may go down some. What are your thoughts? I agreed. And I this video right here. Let's see if I can find it. Um, newest. It's I'm gonna recreate it. I'm gonna update it, not recreate it, but update it. Here we go. Don't buy a boat now. Should you buy a boat now? COVID market update. This is from, if you search that on the channel, Anthony. It's a 41-minute video. So I'll give you the very short version of what I share, but I go into what's going on in the marketplace. We look at sales numbers, we look at inventory numbers, we talk about supply chain issues, we talk about supply and demand, we talk about some economic indicators, and then I give my predictions of what I expect in the next 6 months, what I expect in the next 2 years. I am a boat person. I am not an economist. I am not very smart when it comes to some of that stuff. So I'm pulling from resources that are much smarter than me, and some just some other resources when I'm getting out of my lane. And what's the economy going to do in the next couple of years? What's the political situation going to look like in the next couple of years? And here's what I'm getting to. And Scott, I'll get to your question here in just a second. So Anthony, it's a detailed video, but bottom line is this: if you're going to buy a boat now, understand that you're going to pay a higher price than, it's the market price. It's what almost all boats are selling for. There's still the opportunity to negotiate. And I talk about in the video is how to handle that. But you're going to pay a higher price than, you may even pay more for a pre-owned boat than that boat sold for 4 years ago. Likely will pay more. New boats are increasing. I got a letter that was sent out to Cobalt dealers a couple weeks ago that I talked about, and I actually read it on a live, and it said they were increasing their prices 8%. So I assume that means Malibu's doing the same, and there are other brands escaping me right now, but they've got an 8% jump. Now, here's what I also say is, if you're financially capable of buying that boat, it fits into your budget, and there's a lifestyle reason to buy it today. My kids are 10 years old and 8 and 10 years old. Well, it's going to be 2 years, in my estimation, before we see prices level out because of supply and demand, where things are at, unless something really crazy happens with the economy, it just comes to a halt. Um, we've got at least 18 to 24 months to get to the point where, okay, maybe we see some extra boats come on the market and we see prices dip down. If your kids are 8 and 10 years old, that means in 2 or 3 years they're 10 and 12. they're 11 and 13, and now you've just missed that time with them. So if you're financially able and you go into it with your eyes wide open and understand that, why wouldn't you buy a boat? It's fun money. Nobody has to have a boat. You're spending money that you don't have to, even in the best of times. Yeah, you may pay an extra 5 grand for it or 10 grand for it, but is it worth it? I don't know. It's an individual answer to that question. So go watch that video. I'm gonna probably recreate it here. There'll be some new numbers coming out in the next couple of weeks. So I'll recreate it and do kind of give you my new update, but it really hasn't changed significantly. So hopefully that's helpful. Matt, enjoyed your pontoon boats. Looking good saltwater, lean towards Manitou. They do not seal their lifting strakes. Barletta may become my number one because of this. Yeah, if you're Scott, if you are leaving the boat in saltwater, especially if you're leaving it in saltwater, it is 100% necessary because you'll start to get things growing in there and living in there, and that then will start the corrosion. Even if you're trailering it, putting it on a lift, doing a dry stack, that salt water gets in there. It's virtually impossible to rinse it all out. Maybe if you use a salt away type product where you spray that on there and then rinse that off, um, you're still that salt's going to get in those cracks and crevices, and it's going to be nearly impossible to get it all gone. So I would encourage you to, in saltwater, stay away from an open lifting strake, an open keel, anything that saltwater can easily get in but hard to get it out and get cleaned. And I think for the long haul, for 5 years, you're probably fine. But 10 years, you're going to see some corrosion, and you're going to see maybe even some holes in the tunes, because of that salt water doing what salt water does and eating things away. So for sure. And also, Scott, if you go check out this video, I don't know if you've seen it or not. I try to link to it, but the best and worst pontoons. I go through. It's 6 months ago. It's 25 minutes long, but I go through some a little bit more detail in the different brands, the 41 different brands of pontoons that are out there on the market today. So that's a good resource as well. Um, look for it, get all the bits and pieces as well. Yeah, that you will you will definitely get that one. Got a little, I wanted to get a super, super detailed one out on kind of what's going on in the economy. There were some new numbers that had just come out, and so I think that's a great video for your situation. Jim, best way to inspect a fuel tank on an old boat. Jim, it's good to see you again. I believe that you've been on the lives, or at least been in the comments. Your name looks familiar, and not just because of the comedian and Saturday Night Live guy. Inspect a fuel tank on an older boat. It's tough. So, what kind of boat are you looking at, Jim? Um, because on some of them you can't. The only way you would be able to do it is if you got a bore scope, and let's see if I've got a you know you got a bore scope and you were able to feed it down into where that tank is, and get down in that area of the boat. If it's foam filled, if depending on how it's set up, it may be impossible. And then at that point, you just have to say, okay, how old is this boat? The aluminum tanks, assuming that they were installed properly, assuming that they were taken care of, assuming that they don't have a ton of moisture in them that's been left in there. Um, that's going to be, that bore scope is going to be the way to go. Sticking a bore scope into the tank, I don't know. I don't know if that's a smart thing to do, stick an electronic device into an area with a ton of fumes. I don't have enough experience in that area to know if it makes sense. As far as ethanol buildup, what I'm going to be more concerned with the ethanol buildup is um, in the hoses. in the hoses and the pumps and the fuel filters and things like that, that's where I'm going to be most concerned. And I'm, you can pull off the fuel hose, and you can kind of squeeze it and feel, is it getting worn away? Some of them you can pull off and maybe even stick a little screwdriver or a little wire in there and pull it out. Is it leaving debris on it, or is it nice and clean? And some of those are so inexpensive that you can just change it out, take take it and then slice it open and see what you've got and say, okay, it's fine. But that's where a lot of the issues are going to come from, is from the fuel hose. Okay. But as far as getting to some of those tanks, it can be a challenge, especially with older boats that are in saltwater. It can definitely be a challenge. The best way to inspect a fuel tank. We just did that one. Watched it. Plan to keep it on a lift. Um, yeah. So, Scott, if you're going to keep it for a while and you're going to keep it on a lift, that means you don't have easy access to get that hose in every little nook and cranny and really get it cleaned perfectly. Um, so I would stay away from the open strakes. And although I love Manitou, I was really really impressed with that boat when I inspected it last boat show season. But yeah, for a saltwater person, I think it's a deal breaker in my mind. It's just too rough of an environment to let water sitting in there. Watched quite a few of your videos. Prepare for my first boat. Looking for an early 2000 cruiser. The brands Rinker, Carver, Silverton, Maxim, Sea Ray. Sea Rays are good, but any brands I mentioned you should avoid. Single guy looking just to cruise. Okay, perfect. Hey, and by the way, who was it that asked? Who was that? Travis Ryan asked, "Hey, I've never done this. How do I ask a question?" For anybody that hasn't asked a question, this is how you ask a question. You give me, if you have this specific of a question, you give me all the details, because a single guy just looking to cruise gives me a really good sense of Eli here. And I'm curious about, are you saltwater or freshwater? Are you going to keep the boat in the water? Are you going to trailer it? And the size as well. If you're looking Silverton and Carver, I'm guessing you're 30 plus at least, if not 40. Although I don't know what the biggest Rinker and Maxims are, but let me know that. But that's a great way to ask a question. And Eli, while you're responding with your answer, I'll start with you. So um, here's the great thing about buying a boat that's 20 years old is, number one, if you find the right one, it's got a ton of life left in it. Okay. So um, the the biggest thing that you're going to want to look for is, what's the condition of the drive, especially, okay, so you're saltwater, um 27 or so, have a free more. Okay. Just deleted my message. I have a 22 Rinker now, restored last year, and I'm gonna sell. So, okay. Oh, sorry, that was Travis is getting in there. Okay, so Eli, none of those brands I would stay away from. And here's the great thing about Maxim's not making boats anymore, but they were owned by Brunswick. It's got a Mercruiser in it, and so I'm still okay with that. Um, Sea Ray, in my opinion, is the best in that category, especially in that size range. I don't think you can go wrong. But anytime that you're looking at a used boat, especially a boat that's over 10 years old or older, is you've got an advantage, because if it was built cheaply, when it comes to brand specifically, if it was built cheaply, it's already broken. It's already broken and it's already been fixed, or it's already broken and it wasn't able to be fixed, or you can see that wear. So if they use cheap vinyl, fine. You can see there's holes in the vinyl, or the vinyl's already been replaced and it's a non-issue. The biggest thing for you to do is inspect the boat in detail, especially a cruiser. And I'm sure, Eli, that you've watched this video, how to buy a used cruiser, 24 to 50 foot. It's one of my more popular videos this time of year, especially, and it talks about all of the nooks and crannies and the little things that you need to inspect. The drive, especially if the boat's been left in the water, you need to inspect the drive. You need to inspect the bellows. You need to inspect the engine. You need to look at the compression. You need to get down your head and a flashlight down in that engine compartment, looking at everything. If you've got a generator, you've got to inspect that generator. When you're in the cabin, you've got to pull up all of the compartments. You've got to find out where the air conditioning unit is, look at where the filter is. You've got to find all the seacocks. You've got to find all of the pumps. You've got to test every system on that boat, on power, on the water, on 12 volt, and then on the generator if you've got generators. So you're gonna test them each individually on each place because it's gonna matter. And then you're gonna put it on shore power and you're gonna turn everything on and you're gonna see at what point do things start popping fuses, popping breakers. You're going to go on the water. You're going to run the generator. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to check the fluid in the generator. You're going to check the oil. You're going to check all of that stuff. And if you do that, it doesn't really matter what brand you go with. And if you're cruising and you're not going to be putting it in really, really, really rough chop, you're going to be smart about the conditions you go out in. You may not be going, too far out, making too long a runs in too unknown seas. But the more that you're going to put yourself in, I don't say tough situations, but the more you're going to put yourself in more chop and running in open water and running in 4 or 5 footers, the more I'm going to say, look at Sea Ray, because they build their boats a little bit different. And essentially the big thing that they do that's different is they glass their head compartment enclosure in. They actually glass that in and make it a structural component. So the whole boat itself is stronger because of that. And not everybody does that. Rinker doesn't do it. Maxim doesn't do it. I doubt if Carver does it. Silverton may have been doing that. But you're getting up into the bigger sizes with the Silverton in most cases. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of where to start. Watch this video for sure. And I'm going to recommend, Eli, I'm not sure if you're a mechanical guy, if you've been around boats much, but if you haven't, I'm going to highly recommend a surveyor, because a surveyor is going to know how to look and inspect that boat completely, and a mechanical inspection, especially if you get up past 30 and you get into twins, and now you've got double the cost, double the repair. If you miss something, because you're just not an experienced boater and you don't know what to look for, that several $100s in the survey, on a 30 footer, let's say, maybe $1,000. The in mechanical inspection on a twin engine, maybe $400 to $600, depending on where you're located. But that $1,600 ensures that the 25, the 35, the 50 grand that you invest in the boat is going to be there 2 years from now, because you didn't have a catastrophic failure that's going to cost you 6 to 10 grand an engine. It's going to cost you 3 grand per drive. That's going to cost you 5 grand for a new generator. That's going to cost you, oh wait, we can't fix it because there's a moisture issue and there was water getting in somewhere in the hole. And now, that money is, $50,000 boat went to a $10,000 boat real quick. So it may seem like you get a clear inspection back on the survey, you get a clear mechanical back, and you're like, shit, I just wasted $1,600. In reality, you just saved yourself from a bigger repair. If you think of it that way, I think you'll be make a better decision in the actual boat that you buy. Um, the other thing that I would encourage you to do is, um, when you run the boat, um, you know, spend some time, and you should probably even do this before you get to the survey and the mechanical, and I talk about it in this used cruiser video, is you can do 90% of the work, so you're not paying for a survey on a boat that there's something you could have found. So watch that video, get the checklist, and, and you'll be able to do a great job even if you don't know much about boats. You'll at least be able to look at things like, oh, there's a puddle of water here, that's bad. And you'll be able to avoid wasting money on a survey or a mechanical inspection for something you could have found. The First Time Boat Buyer Academy is another where we go into a little bit more detail on some of those things, but that video and the toolkit will get you a great start. Okay. All right. So Travis, deleting my message. I've got a O2 Rinker, completely restored last year. I'm going to sell. So Travis, are you looking to buy a new boat? Are you getting out of boating? Are you, is there a question? Or are you just sharing that? Because I'm also curious if you restored it. I'm always impressed with people that dive in and do the restorations themselves. It's not a skill, it's not a desire really that I have, but I'm impressed with that ability. It's something my dad has. It's something my brother has to a certain extent. But I'm fascinated. I think it would be awesome to get an older boat with a great hull and redo it and then be on the water in a boat that I personally restored. I don't know. I think that's cool. I think there's a great deal of pride associated with that. So, but selling that boat, a 23-foot bow rider with a Bravo 3, I can't imagine you would have any problem selling that, um, especially when it starts warming up just a little bit. So, all right, any other questions? And I'm gonna give another shout out and thank you to Brian Blank that became a new member. I just because we're getting close to that 25,000 mark, I think YouTube gave me the ability to do a membership on the channel where you can do a monthly membership, and you will it's like I think 2.99 a month, 4.99 a month, and 9.99 a month, and it's really just a way to help support the channel. What I will do is if you're a member of the community, I'll move your questions up, just as a way to say thank you. So restored it, bought a Four Winds. That was junk. Made it great. Wanted bigger. Thought the Rinker made it great. Hey, welcome to boating, my friend. That's the way it works. You start out with your 18, you move up to a bigger bow rider, and then you're like, all right, it's time to hit the big leagues. Get the 330 Sea Ray. That's a great sized cruiser. Um, that's we sold. Let's see, I sold some the 28s, and to the 35 was kind of in the size range that I sold most of. When I sold Sea Rays, I sold 140, but that was unusual for our lake. That was a big boat for our lake. That they ended up actually putting it on a different lake as well, putting it on Lake Norman, which was a bigger. But yeah, it's this if you're looking pre-owned, I would definitely check this video out as well, Travis, which may be how you ended up getting here. Is that may be the video that caught your eye initially. But welcome to the community. Glad to have you here. And any advice as you restored the Four Winds, you restored the Rinker, any anything that you ran into that was under the gel coat, that was behind the scenes, that unless you really, really, really knew what you were looking for, you would have never found it if you were buying that boat. I'm always curious to ask that question from people that have restored stuff because I think it's great for newer boaters to understand that there's stuff that you can't see that can be very, very problematic. Rotten stringers, soft transoms, um, you know, rub rails that aren't matched up well any longer, and they're coming apart at that shoebox fitting where the deck goes over the hole, and they're screwed together on that rub rail. I think it's always good for people to hear. I'm always interested to see what you folks that do restore your boats and that do dive into the nitty gritty a little bit more, what your experience has been and what you found that caught you off guard. Anthony says, started with my four winds 200, hates getting on plane, basically going over 20 mile an hour. We lake tested a Sweetwater and we all loved it. Yeah, it's it's really, really hard in my mind to beat the comfort of a Tritune. It's got to get really, really crappy out and really, really rough to make it super uncomfortable. You don't have that same bow rise, and if you're, especially if you have a spouse or somebody on the boat that's not in love with the speed, the banking in the turns, the bouncing, those tri-tunes are, man, it's smooth. And that's funny moving from that to that. That'll be our next. Have to sell my four winds first. Well, Anthony, you talk to your wife, but if you put your boat for sale at even a somewhat reasonable price, especially on Lake Murray, yeah, you're just south of me. I'm just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been on Lake Murray a couple of times, and yeah, you put that tri-tune out there on a Saturday, and you'll be in good shape. All right, so we got a couple other questions coming in here. Keep them coming, y'all. It's 9:15, so I'll give another 15 minutes for sure. If the questions are coming in, I will stick on here with you. Family of five, Georgia coastal saltwater, looking for a weekend boat, sandbar tubing, capacity to bring friends and kids along, bow rider, center console, um, Yamaha 195 or Sea Ray. Okay. So let's get into some questions here. R. Monroe. Um, all right. Several different boats here, several different price ranges as well. So for a family of five, the Scout 195 is too small. You're not going to be happy even with just the five of you on that boat, let alone trying to have your kids bring a friend or you bring a friend. Um, I'll give you my thoughts on the Yamaha Fish. No, the 252. Okay. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you some generic advice here. Um, you didn't mention anything about fishing, so bring friends, kids, sandbar, and tubing. You'll see you'll see at the coast, number 1, outboard, okay? That's to me, that's a no-brainer, and I think or the jet boat. The jet boat's fine too, unless you're keeping the boat in the water, then don't do the jet boat. There's things can just like the pontoon thing that we were talking about with the lifting strakes that were open, if you've got a jet drive and you leave it in the water, things are going to get up in there and they're going to start making their home in the nozzle in the jet system. So that's out. But for the most part, I'm going to say the Yamaha's okay if you're trailering or if you're dry storing. I think that's great. Where the Yamaha excels is it's fun and sporty. It's super fun to drive. It handles like a sports car. It's quick in the acceleration. It's going to be a little bit rougher than a Sea Ray or a center console or a bow rider or deck boat outboard, it's going to be a little bit rougher because you don't have the ability to trim that jet drive as much. And so you're always going to hit the wakes at this angle versus with the ability to trim, you can raise your nose up and you can make that lighter, kind of just glancing off the waves versus smacking the waves at that shallower angle. And this, as Brock says, he's got a family of five, and they just moved to a 247 Sportsman. One of my kids brings two or more friends. It's going to be a little tight, especially the tubes and the lily pads and all the toys that you're going to want to bring to the sandbar with you. And whatever water sports they get into, even that 24-foot center console. Hey, you get five plus two extra kids, and little Brock's kids are younger. They still get it's still going to get tight. So with that center console, because that center console is in the middle, it's great for if you're fishing. It's great for going offshore. You've got the handles, but there's not a ton of seating room in most of those setups until you get a little bit bigger. Okay. Um, the Sea Ray 210, I think, would be okay if you went with the outboard version. I think a bow rider is okay if you go with the outboard version. And I think the Yamaha, the jet boat's okay if you're a sportier person, and you're going to be able to in the price range. The Yamaha 252. I don't know what those are running, but you're well over 100,000 on that, I think. Um, Let me see. 252. Oh, okay, 85. I don't know why I thought those were over 100. Um, they Anyway, okay, so 90,000 on that. The Scout 195 is and the Sea Ray is probably somewhere in the middle. But here's what I'm going to encourage you to think about is just if you can, and we talk about this I talk about this in the First Time Boat Buyer Academy, is um I was looking at things on my screen and nobody could see it. Anyway, the we talk about this in the First Time Boat Buyer Academy, is try to envision what your day on the water is going to look like, and then go and look at some of these boats. I think you said you were on the Georgia coast. Is that right? Okay, Georgia coast. So it's warm enough that you can go to some of the marinas on a nice day, and there's going to be some activity around. Go to a dry stack marina on a nice warm Saturday afternoon and talk to some people. Hey, go to the boat show. I don't know if I think Savannah canceled their show. I don't know where you are in Georgia, but I think Savannah canceled their show. But go to some of the dealers around, and take the family, get on the bow rider, get on the center console with the five of you, get on that Yamaha with the five of you if you can find these boats in stock, or go to the marina and walk the docks. And I think you'll find that one or two of them will really feel right for you. It's such a personal preference based on the style of boating that you're going to do, and who you're going to do it with. The center console, if you can make it fit in your budget and go bigger, I think a center console is fine. You just don't get as much roominess, but they're really great for the coast. You've got that center, so you've got good visibility all the way around. If you do end up getting into fishing, you've got that option. They're significantly better for fishing than any of the ones you mentioned, other than if you do that Yamaha and the fish setup. Um, but again, if I'm taking that boat offshore, I would prefer to have outboards versus the jet drive because of that ability to tilt the engine and trim the engine up. So hopefully that gives you a few things to think about. Um, and if you want, R. Monroe, Let's see if there's yeah, so that's those Sea Ray outboards are the ones I would look at, would definitely look at. And, if you would like, join me, um, on a podcast. If you wanna get on a podcast conversation, if you go to boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/podcast. I just redid my site, so let me double check that. Um, I don't think they changed the if you go to Boat Buyer Secret Weapon, here, be a guest on the podcast. If you click on that, you'll just fill out a quick little form. And when you hit submit, it should take you to my calendar and you can schedule a time. And I'd be happy to get on the phone and talk a little bit more, be able to, in real time, ask you a question, have a conversation back and forth. And I may be able to help you with that as well. So if that's of interest to you, R. Monroe, jump on that opportunity. And yeah, I don't know who this was saying it. 100% outboard. Okay, so you were already on top of that one. Perfect. Freshwater never run over 3,500 RPM. Yeah, that's I like to get on the throttle like once or twice a year just to, blow the cobs out and, get that baby trimmed up, see how good I can make it go on a perfect calm day. But for me, for the most part, I am just up on plane and I am cruising. And I'll get that baby set just barely on plane, maybe a little bit of trim in it, and that's my style as well. Jean Sebastian, thanks for joining us and joining in. Just listen to your advice about running everything the first time was the four wins. Wish I had prior to buying the cracked block because of huge expense in Indiana. Yeah, there's so many, and it's one of the reasons I started this channel is there are so many people that want to get into boating and they just have a terrible experience because there's so much you don't know. There's so much I don't know. And I've been around boats since I was 5. I've sold boats. I've been in the industry for over 10 years now. And I've been to factories. I've talked to, presidents of manufacturing companies, owners of dealerships. I've had relationships with virtually everybody in the industry, been to industry events. Couldn't count how many boat shows I've been to as a consumer, as just a boating fan, as I'm working the show, as a researcher doing for this. And there's things that I would potentially miss if I got in a little bit of a hurry. So as a first time buyer, take advantage of the 277 videos that are on this channel and the other channels that are out there, the more technical ones. There's a lot of great information, and avoid those big expenses, because if you can avoid those, you learn how to run your boat properly and you get control of your boat and you feel confident with that. That's why I created the best boat captain on the water training. You can love it. But if you have that bad experience and you make a mistake right out the gate, there's it's hard to recover, especially if it's an expensive mistake. Um, so all right. 40 hours, bought a '08 Glastron last year, 56. Thought that was impossibly rare. Guess not. Um, where did I must have missed a comment somewhere. Oh, there we go. I did. Jean Sebastian, I caught your one. Where I live, boat season 3 months. I use my Chaparral 5.0, less than 40 hours. We have to change the oil every year. Can do it every 2 years. You can do it every 2 years. With the what'd you say, Merc? Yeah, if you look in the Merc manual, and this is a little bit older one. This is an '07, but it'll say 100 hours or 2 years. So oil breaks down with use, but it also breaks down over time. So the 2 years is okay. After 2 years, it needs to be changed. Even if you put 2 hours on it, it needs to be changed. But yeah, where are you? Where are you located? Just out of curiosity, if you're up in Canada or um, I always am interested when we get an international audience. It blows me away that the reach of this channel has gone, fully international. We get people from Norway and Australia and New Zealand and South America that join us, and I am interested to learn about their boating areas. Um, yeah, and even running slow like that, there's still that time period, but you can certainly get away doing it every 2 years, for sure. Alright, let's see if I'm missing. Okay, so now this here here's what I found. So I'm in the Carolinas. I'm in the fresh water. I'm in, just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. And in our area on the freshwater lakes running, pontoons and bow riders and jet boats, the average boater puts about 50 hours a year on their boat engine. Now, they could be using it significantly more, anchoring out, just hanging out on it, but engine runtime about 50. The surfers, the fishermen will put a lot more hours on because a lot more of their time is spent running, maybe trolling, but running out to their fishing spot, surfing or wakeboarding or whatever. And, they can put 100, 200 hours on a year, no problem. In Florida, where it's nice all year round, and they really have a 12-month season, they can put a couple hundred hours on without a problem for sure. Four, okay, so four people is fun, five people is tight on his 20-footer. Oh, okay, that's a Glastron, so 20-foot Glastron. So, R. Monroe, that, just to give you some thoughts, you got Brock talking about his 24-foot. I want to say that 247 is almost 25 feet, and a 20-footer with four people is good. Five people starts to get tight. So, okay, hopefully, okay, you're in Charleston as well. R. Monroe, like I was telling Brock, is I'm hoping to get that show probably on Sunday if everything goes well and I can get out after the basketball game Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. When is it? Yeah, 10 o'clock. Our game's at 10 o'clock on Saturday. So that actually should work pretty good. I might even be able to get to some of the show on Saturday and check that out. So if you want to get on that podcast, jump on for sure. I just put 50 hours on my boat the first year I had it. Um, Most of those were at 5 to 6,000 RPM. That's interesting. So Brock is in Charleston as well, and that's probably well. Is that your sportsman or is that your Ranger Brock? Because Brock is a two boat family with his bass boat that he fishes in tournaments, and then he recently he had a sportsman on order, but it got delayed. The price was increasing from when he ordered it, and he ended up okay. That's his tournament Ranger. Yeah, so that's you bass boat guys. I was out at the lake on New Year's Day. I kind of have a down a tradition of going to the lake on New Year's Day just to kind of think about the upcoming year and hanging out. It's usually chilly around here. It was rainy, but they were having a bass tournament. I saw these bass guys screaming around in their bass boats as the rain was just about to get there. They were all hauling back for their weigh in. So yeah, it's another thing that, on the newer engines that you also might wanna look at if you're gonna have the mechanical inspection, find a technician that's got the computer that can hook up to the engines, and it'll tell you the RPM ranges that, that engine's been run. So it'll say, 5 to 6,000 RPM is 20 hours. 4 to 5,000 was 100 hours. And, usually it's that lower band is where a majority on most pleasure boats, not the fishing boats, not the water sports boats, is where you're going to find most of the hours put on is under 4,000 for sure. That's awesome. Getting out there, heading to the next spot. Okay, yeah, Jean. I thought you might be Jean Sebastian from Canada. So welcome from Canada. All right, so we're at 9:30. We still have 18 people on. We started out a little slow, but we had some good conversation. Um, So I appreciate y'all joining in. If you have any last questions, go ahead and drop it in. If I missed you, let me know. But I think I got everybody. And again, remember if you're a first time boater and you need a little bit, hey, let's make sure that one, I'm going to get the right boat. Two, I'm going to inspect it the right way, whether it's new or used. We talk about both. And three, I'm going to get the best possible price. I talk about how to negotiate with private sellers, with dealers, to get the best deal. I've even had some folks even recently that are saving by going through what I call the magic money saving method during that negotiation phase, where you're really friendly about it, but you ask some very specific questions in specific order and react a certain way. And there's savings to be had even in today's market, even though the prices are up and demand is up. You can still save from what the price that they're asking. And we talk about that. If you're a newer boat owner and you want to make sure that you're handling your boat properly, you want to make sure that you can put it in the slip first time, every time. You want to make sure you can put it on the trailer with ease. We've got the best pontoon captain. We've got the best boat captain on the water. There's a trailer like a pro tow water sports with confidence. And there's a boating fun amplifier toolkit, which if you get the best boat captain, then you have the opportunity to get those as well. But this program, I'm super proud of it. And we've had some great response. 3 months and I thought I had it bad. Exactly. Yeah, those guys up in Canada, they've got some beautiful water up there. I've seen pictures. I know some dealers up there. I know some people in the industry up there. They've got a short season, but man, is it pretty. And man, do they have some clear water. Driving up from Savannah. Okay, yeah, that's right. You said you would be in Savannah. Savannah show's canceled. So, yeah, maybe if you're gonna be there Saturday night, maybe Sunday, reach out. I'm will try to stay at that hotel that's right there by the convention center. You can just walk right over. It's super convenient. It's a nice little nice hotel. Um, I was studying, Jim. I talked about you before you got here. That was mentioned in the very beginning about about the VHF information with Brock and his antennas coming in Tuesday. He said, and Jim was kind enough to share his expertise in the ham radio world and kind of breaking that down into the VHF world. And as I'm putting that video together and doing my research. So, boat for purpose, 100% key. Yeah. Um, uh, ZKR 99 is another longtime listener. It's good to see you back. Haven't seen a comment from you for a while in this cold winter, but yeah, the understanding what you're going to do on the boat and trying to figure that out as much as possible as a first time boater. It can be difficult if you've never done it, but getting that crystal clear and then getting the boat that matches that purpose, not the boat that your buddy says, not the boat that the dealer wants to get rid of. And that's not really the case anymore, but not what they're pushing for whatever reason, not the one you can get the best deal on, but the boat got the right boat for the purpose is going to get you really, really far in buying the right boat for sure. All right. Is it okay to winterize a Volvo by just draining all the water necessary to use the antifreeze? Not me, nine. Where are you located? So if I am in my kind of climate where it's going to freeze, but it's going to get down to 20, maybe 10, maybe single digits for a day, maybe two, I'm going to be fine just draining it. I'm going to be very diligent to make sure that I get all of my valves open properly on those Volvos. I'm going to get all of my plugs pulled properly. I'm going to have the boat at the correct angle. If it's on a trailer, if it's on a lift, I'm going to make sure that there's no water that's going to get into the prop hub, that there's no water that's going to get anywhere. And then I'm okay with that. If I'm in Minnesota, I'm going to put the antifreeze in. I'm not going to take the chance at all. The good thing about being in a cold climate versus the freezing climate of I kind of say I'm in the Carolinas, so that strip from the Carolinas across, um, hey, it's going to get cold. It's going to get below freezing, but if I get most of the water out of there, I'm going to be in pretty good shape. If I don't get, if I get 99% of the water out, I'm going to be pretty good shape. If you do that up in Minnesota and it gets in the wrong spot, it can expand just enough to crack. Then I'm going to always use the antifreeze. So it kind of depends on where you're at. The colder, the more consistently cold it gets, the harder it's going to freeze, the quicker it's going to freeze, the more I'm going to use the antifreeze. What do you think of Sea Chaser boats? I don't know anything about Sea Chaser. I always feel dumb when I don't know a brand, but um, there are so many of them. Carolina Skiff. Okay, owned by Skiff. Okay, I do know these guys. I have not inspected a Sea Chaser, um, but I do recognize it now that I actually see the boat. I don't know, so I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to go with my original. I know the brand, but I don't know much about it other than I've seen it before. Carolina Skiff is a no frills boat. I don't know if Sea Chaser is the same way. Let me see if I can. Begins right at Sea Chaser, home of the number one fiberglass outboard powerboat brand in North America. I find that funny that the home of the number one fiberglass outboard power boat brand in North America. I don't know that that's true for Sea Chaser. I don't know where that number comes from. I always find it interesting to read their marketing, whether you wake before dawn to at an unbeatable price. Okay, so that tells me that it's probably a value brand. When I see any time in their marketing that they mention a low price or an unbeatable price, it tells me that it's probably in the value category. Now, with that said, doesn't mean it's a bad boat. It means that they've done some things in the construction process to keep the price down. It's not built like a Grady. It's not built like a contender. Um, doesn't mean it's unsafe. It just means that the ride's not going to be as solid. It just means that it's probably not as heavy. It just means that some of the fit and finish might not be as tight and as perfect and as crisp. Doesn't mean the boat's unsafe. It just means that they do things. There's a reason why they can sell it for, let's say one boat you're looking at's 100 grand, the other one you're looking at is 90 grand, the other one you're looking at 70 grand, and they're the same size with the same motor. Well, it has to be true because the boating industry is so competitive that the $100,000 boat is likely built better than the $90,000 boat. The $90,000 boat is built better than the $70,000 boat because they use cheaper material, cheaper construction methods. Because I don't know of anybody that is so far ahead in their manufacturing ability, so much better efficiency or economies of scale that they're able to make that kind of improvement in their price without cutting out something. So that's I'll do a little bit more detailed looking, and when I go to the boat shows this winter, I will be doing a more broad dive on more brands. So I'm going to spend more time at the boat shows and looking at more brands. And I'm also going to try to do a little bit more, get some video footage of the actual boats in addition to photos, so I can talk about it as I'm seeing it at the show. And hopefully, Sea Chaser will be at a show, and I can do that. Regards to outdrive maintenance, getting a V drive be better? Does the V drive cost more to maintain? Okay, so Eli, if you are leaving your cruiser in the water, a V drive is a better system. Okay, you're going to be, because it takes up more room inside the boat, the way they have to configure it. You are likely going to have to be up to the 30, let's say 30 to 35 foot, maybe even 37, before you're going to find the true outboard or the true inboard motors versus the stern drive, that transom drive. So it's, yes, maintenance is going to be cheaper. Maintenance is going to be easier because it's just a shaft and a prop that's out there. But here in the States, and I don't remember where you said you were, but here in the States, they're just not as common. Most of them that are under 30 feet are going to have a stern drive. So, but if you get big enough, a V drive is a good option. Texas got to 19 the other night. Yeah. So there's a lot of people in Texas that just didn't winterize last year and got caught with their pants down. Yeah. ZKR is right. That antifreeze is cheap and it is easy to do. I say we're in that zone where you're probably okay just draining it. But the other day, well, not the other day, it's been about a month and a half ago, I was out and I helped my buddy winterize his 23-foot chaparral. So, and we put the antifreeze fluid through from the time we fixed the battery cable issue that left us stranded on the lake while we were having our lunch. We were going to go grab lunch and do a last run for the season before him and I put it up, and we ended up dying 100 yards from the marina, just outside the no wake buoys, and we had to fix that issue. But once we got to the winterizing, it took us maybe 30 minutes, if that, to get it all done. So it's cheap, it's easy to do yourself, but um, yeah, a Volvo versus a Merc. I have not. Um, it's on my. I don't think I have yet. Let me see. Okay, I did Alpha Bravo, outboard jet, inboard, outboard. So no, I do have. You can see on my list. Um, I've got it. This is my list of. I'll go full screen here. Get over here. So this is my list of videos that I want to create, and you can see it's got Volvo Merc Cruiser, Yamaha Merc, Yamaha Suzuki, Honda Suzuki. So that's on the list, but it hasn't come out yet. So good suggestion on the same track as me. And I'll give you the spoiler alert here is they're both good now. The biggest thing that you want to make that decision on is, do you have a Volvo mechanic? Do you have a Mercruiser mechanic in your area that has capacity that's going to be good? If the answer is I've got both, then you're going to be fine with both. If the answer is I've got a Volvo tech, but not many Merc techs, go Volvo. Vice versa. If I've got a bunch of Merc techs, but not very many Volvo that are good, go Merc. Caveat, if you're going old, 20 years old or older, Make sure you've got a Volvo tech there that is going to have that expertise in those older models. Um, Mercruiser has dominated market share in the stern drive market for decades. So you're almost always can find a Mercruiser person in some areas that they don't sell a lot of Volvo at the dealerships. It can be hard to find a Volvo mechanic, but if you can find a Volvo tech, and they're solid. That's my father-in-law has a Volvo on his Cobalt, super nice boat. Um, 2018, I think it is, and I mean it's thing's great. Um, Thanks for the videos first and foremost. You're welcome. Diesel Shamrock 26 here in Washington. Inexperienced Shamrocks. Don't know anything about Shamrocks. Another one. Damn. Another one where I don't know that brand. Um, Sham. I can usually get a pretty good sense by looking at them. Okay. Inboard diesel. Ah, yes. You know what? Maybe it was you that asked me about this before. Somebody has asked me about this, and I've looked into them. It's just it's the brand that's back. So this is what happens a lot in the boating industry is a brand that has a good reputation, that has a loyal following, that like Chris Craft. I'll use them as an example because I think it's a good a good example is Chris Craft is known as, you know, a great boat, right? Chris Craft started years and years and years ago as a wooden boat company and was the pinnacle. Then they I don't know, and I don't know the full history off the top of my head, but then they made the Chris Craft cruisers, which were very, very sought after. You see them around quite a bit in a lot of different areas. They got some pretty big ones, 40 plus, that are very roomy and people loved them. Well, then they went out of business. Somebody bought the brand. Somebody buys the molds and they keep that brand. The person that gets the brand doesn't necessarily buy the mold. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So you can see the brand go this way and the molds go that way. Well, now the brand still has the Chris Craft cachet and the reputation, but the new ownership, the new management might do a crappy job of building boats, which Chris Craft went through that. There was a period of time where Chris Crafts were crap. Now they've been bought and sold, bought and sold. Now they're owned by, well, they recently got bought. When did they get bought? A year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. But now they're making these luxury bow riders with the throwback look. They just released their center console, 30 was a 38-foot center console, something like that, man. And but the relation between the new Chris Crafts and the Chris Crafts from the 60s, 70s, 80s is out the window. They're nothing alike. And I think that's what happened with Shamrock is that that somebody bought the brand and I don't know if they bought the molds or not, but it's something to think about. It's something to think about when you're looking at a brand that's been bought. It's the same thing that I when Cobalt was bought by Malibu, when Bennington was bought by Polaris, and Godfrey were bought by Polaris. Is how much are they going to keep of that? What the company was beforehand, and how much is that new parent company going to influence thing by making decisions based on public company makes decisions a little bit differently than a family owned company like Cobalt was. At some point, the decisions that they make and their designs and the way they build boats could change. It often does. So you're Anthony, you're very welcome. We'll be back next week. Eli, so up in Rhode Island, you may find some inboards up in Rhode Island. There's up in the Northeast. They are yeah, they're you may be able to find one in that size, um, in some different brands. So, but that's the inboard is good. And go, um, let's see here. I've got this drive or this video V drive. Let's see what comes up. Yeah, inboard, outboard versus jet. Watch this video. This pros and cons, jet, stern, outboard, and inboards. I haven't done my I haven't done the stern drive versus outboard yet, I don't think. If you can find it on the channel, it's a good one. But this one right here will give you some of my thoughts on stern drives versus inboards or V drives. Let's see here. My pipe dream, tunnel hall pinion, mint condition. Hey, we've all, no matter what boat you've got, there's always another one that you're like, but that's the one. I love this one, but that's the one I really love. I always tell the story. My brother, um, my brother lives in Nebraska. I live in the Carolinas, and he bought a new boat. I called him maybe even a couple days after he bought it. I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm on Boat Trader looking at boats." I'm like, "You just bought a boat. What are you doing?" We're always looking for the next one. There's always a nicer boat out there. Surf, fish, cruise, San Juan, inside passage. I've been up to the San Juan Islands. They're beautiful up there. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous area. I'm a little jealous about that boating. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of brands that have been through that. A lot of brands that have been through that. This is an early 2000. Okay, so I don't know anything. I've got nothing to add to the conversation on those shamrocks. From I, again, I don't know if it was you that had brought this up, but it sounds like a boat that has a very loyal following from what I read on it. But again, it was several months ago that I looked into it. But when I saw that, when I got to this section, I remember being there before. Yeah, that is a good idea. To go brand to brand. Um, Silverton, the ugly Carver 350. Eli, did you watch that one? I hope I didn't crush your dreams on the ugly boat. I created this video and I told my wife, I said, "Oh, I think I created one that's gonna do really well. It's different for the channel." Um, and I may have, I don't know where it went. It's not coming up. But anyway, I did one I did one where I said the ugliest boats, the top 5, and, that I still the Clorox bottle look it's a different look, but roomy. Like I said, there's a reason they did it, and it was to get room. Had a video, 2-footer or something, explain my constant 2-foot-itis, yes. 2-foot-itis for sure. All right. You're very welcome. Hey, thank you guys. I'm going to wrap it up. We're almost at 10 o'clock here on the East Coast. Thank you all for another fun one. Uh-oh. Brock, I don't know what your wife's going to say about that one. She's already let you have 2 of them. So, but that's a good one to be on the list. Hey, thank you guys so much. These are still, I love them. I have a great time with them, and it's Um, a fun thing to do on Sunday nights, and I appreciate you guys all joining me. All right, we had this one pop in. Let's see, it's a tough one. Any idea on a 7-year-old grandson that loves getting on boats but terrified of sinking? Um, all right, if we go out, okay, getting on the boat is terrified of sinking. Ray, what I would do is I think I would put your grandson in a life jacket, a good fitting life jacket, and you can do this in a pool. You can do this at the shore, and let him let him float in that life jacket and just get him comfortable being in the water and around the water. And then say, "Hey, let's do this. Let's go out on the boat and, depending on what your situation is, just kind of ease them into it." Here's what I find with kids is it can be nerve-wracking for a kid. It can be scary because it's all brand new, but if you let them go at their own pace, and just give them a little bit, within a 2-hour period, you can go from, "I'm not getting on the boat," to, "Hey, grandpa, go faster, hit more waves," because they get comfortable, they get, confidence in the environment. So dip them in the water where they're touching, and let them, well, with you or the dad or the mom, somebody that they trust, let them float and see, "Oh, I can float in my life jacket." So number 1, "Hey, little Johnny, you're safe, okay? Even if you jump, you're not even in the boat. If you jump off, you're gonna float. So you are safe. I'm safe. You're gonna wear your life jacket the whole time, no questions asked. Um, you're okay." And then get him on the boat. If he likes to sit on the boat, just be tied up at the dock. "Hey, see, we're not sinking. There's no reason why we would sink. Look at that boat go by. Oh, there's another 7-year-old boy in that boat." If you have friends that have kids or grandkids that are about his age, introduce them. Let the kid talk about how much fun they have on their boat, and, "Hey, do you wanna come with us and we'll go out together?" And I find oftentimes that kids that are about the same age, if they see one doing it, it's more impactful than if an adult says, it's safe, you're okay." A little 8-year-old boy or 10-year-old boy that they look up to, or even a 7-year-old boy that they would be friends with, says, "I love boating. We always go out. We've never sank." And now he's like, "Oh, okay." And their word carries more weight than grandpa's word, or definitely mom and dad's word. And then, if he's still nervous, don't push it. Just let it come naturally. Let it come naturally. Maybe tie up on the dock and push off a little ways. When you go nice and slow, and just stay at an idle. Don't hit any rough water. Whatever's going to make him comfortable. And hey, if it takes 3 or 4 times out, my guess is you could do this in an hour or two, if you go nice and slow and easy. The other thing, my daughters are sleeping, but there is this book, um, Boat Girl. All right. There's this book called Adventures with Boat Girl. Let's see here. Oh, this is a video. That's not. Oh, here we go. All right. So this is Diane Seltzer, I think is how you say your name. Um, but she wrote this book. Come on, there we go. She wrote this book, The Amazing Adventures of Boat Girl, and it's about this little girl that's nervous to go on the water, and and she has to wear a life jacket. So it's kind of she wrote this for life jacket safety. And it's a kid's book. My girls have it. Was my girls are just turned 8 Friday and 10. And it was at from 5 to about 7. It was one of their favorite books in their rotation at bedtime. So this is a book that he might enjoy, and that might kind of get him there as well. Yeah, this is a great one. Stickers. St- Stickers. Um, I thought when I read this comment, I thought I was going to say, "Give them a sticker after you go out," or something. Sorry, I misread that one. Potato chips and feed the seagulls. Yeah, there's, depending on where you boat, Ray, is let them know all the cool things you're gonna see out there. Hey, there's gonna be ducks. We're going to see, if you're on the coast, we're going to see dolphin. We're going to see a manatee. We're going to see turtles. We're going to see birds or whatever he might find interesting, and just slow steps. Maybe even just go and watch some boats on the water, and to get him there. But that would be my best answer. And again, The Amazing Adventures of Boat Girl is a really cool book. And let's see here. myboatlife.com is Diane's website. She's got a YouTube channel as well. I think it's called My Boat Life. That they've got a, what is it, a 34 or 38 Sea Ray cruiser up in New England somewhere. I want to say they're in Maryland maybe. But she's super nice lady. I've talked to her before. She's great. And so anyway, I think that's a good place to end. I've got no other advice on that, Ray, but hopefully some of that is helpful. And let us know how it turns out. If something works better than another, let me know. But getting them comfortable just with the water and in the water for my girls was, we put them in swim lessons right away, because we knew we were going to be on a boat a lot of our life. Oh yeah, that's a great one too. Sitting on the lap driving, feel like you've got a little bit more control. You control the throttle. They can have their hands on the wheels. You're steering at age 7, but you're driving the boat, but they feel big time. They feel like they're king of the world when they're sitting on Grandpa's lap driving the boat, and they'll be telling all their friends at school, for sure. Captain's chair helped with my girls. Okay, so you call it a captain's chair. So awesome, guys. Well, it's been another fun live. It's hour and a half, I guess. I don't know why I got on 10 minutes early, but I kicked it off. Thanks again, and we will see you all next week. Take care, everybody.